Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to do a paternity test on my children? Original post. My ex-husband and I have 3 children. It was a difficult split, as he left while I was pregnant with our twins, and he tried to make everything as difficult as possible. He and his wife are wanting me to do a paternity test on the children, as they are disputing that our youngest is his. And he no longer wants to pay child support for her. Him wanting to reduce his child support has been an ongoing issue. For the last 5 years, he hasn't had a problem regarding the paternity of any of our children. He's now stating that he doesn't think that our daughter is his, and that I have cheated because she doesn't look like him. She doesn't look much like me either. She's got green eyes like I do. Both of us are pale with light-colored hair and eyes. Our daughter has dark hair that is thick and curly. She looks mixed race, and she's the only one who looks this way. Her twin brother looks like my ex-husband. My daughter looks like my grandmother, who is mixed race and was white passing. I'll be honest, that me and his wife do not get along. I mean, it is hard to get along with a woman who your husband left you for. She keeps trying to shove herself in my children's lives and acting like their mom. She keeps insisting that she's mama and they should refer to her as that. They have refused to call her that, which always ends it with my ex calling me frustrated that the children won't give her respect. She's recently been pointing out that my youngest looks darker than her siblings and has been suggesting that my youngest isn't my ex-husband's. I'm close with my former sister-in-law, ex's brother's wife, and she told me before my ex did that he wanted a paternity test and was going to stop paying child support for her. She's also said that ex and his wife are once again having money issues. This was something I had already suspected, as he had stopped taking them on his weekends as he was having to work overtime. And before people tell me to document this, I have everything documented. I refuse to answer calls from him, which forces him to either text or email me so that I can keep conversation records, as I don't trust him. After I found out about him wanting a paternity test, I told him that I wasn't going to consent to him doing a paternity test on the children, and the only way he was getting one is if he took me to court. He told me that it was clear our daughter wasn't his, and that she didn't look like her siblings. He argued that he couldn't afford court, and I was holding his money hostage by forcing him to pay for a child that isn't his. He has now apparently been whining about me on Facebook about how I cheated on him, and I'm forcing him to raise another man's child and forced him to sign the birth certificate. I didn't. He wasn't even there. But as we were still married, I could put him on without him being there. I don't follow him. I had one of his friends try and confront me about it. I want my children to have a relationship with their dad, and I feel like this is stopping them. Though on the other hand, I know there will be something else he, or his wife, takes issue with down the line. Now for the top comments before reading the update. He left when you were pregnant with twins, but doesn't believe the youngest is his? I didn't read past that, because that doesn't make sense to me. Wouldn't the twins then be the youngest? That's correct. She is the younger of my twins. So he thinks only one of the twins isn't his? Yep, he only thinks one of the twins is his. I wish I could explain why he thinks that, but he was never the smartest. Are you a cat? I'm not sure why he even bothered asking. He could literally buy an at-home test and use it on his weekend with them, and there's really not a thing you could do about it. In the US, at least. My ex keeps saying my youngest isn't his. I've asked him to do a paternity test since I was pregnant. Now he claims he wants a paternity test. I said book it, and I'll bring the kids. He still hasn't. He just wants to make a noise and let people feel sorry for him. He won't do the test because he knows the kid is his. OP's husband just wants sympathy, not a paternity test. Edit. I thought I'd put this in my post, but I didn't. Really should have proofread this rather than posting in anger. My ex wants me to pay for the paternity test. He doesn't want to because of his financial situation, which is why I told him to take it to court and get a court-mandated one. I know if I was to pay for it, then he would want another one, because he'll think that I tampered with it as I paid for it. He did the same with when I had a house valued so I could give him half. He didn't like what the first person valued it at, so had to get another. I know I haven't cheated on him, and she is his. I know some didn't like me referring to her as my youngest. Both her and her brother don't like being referred to as twins or as one, so I don't refer to them as much. Since they were toddlers, they have been very independent from each other and want to be treated as such. She is not my only daughter. My eldest is also a girl. Now for the update. So I did not expect so many comments on my last post. After I posted in my frustration over the paternity test situation, my ex-husband, we'll call him Jim, and his wife kept trying to get me to consent to and pay for the paternity test. I refused to pay because I know Jim. When the result isn't what he wants, he will accuse me of tampering with the results. When I kept saying no, they ran to whoever would listen complaining about me and how I was forcing them to pay for a child that wasn't Jim's. For those who may not have read my last post, the child in question is my youngest daughter and a twin. Jim does not contest that her twin brother is his. But apparently, along with being a witch over this, I'm also a cat. News to me. Honestly, didn't think he was that much of an idiot, but here we are. Jim kept complaining to his dad, Mick, and brother about me, and how I was being financially abusive by taking money from him for a child that wasn't his, and refusing to pay for the paternity test. Now, Mick and I get on very well. He adores his grandchildren. They also adore him, and I have never attempted to stop them having a relationship, unlike Jim, who often attempts to weaponize the children. I get very well with Jim's family and we are close. His sister-in-law, his brother's wife, and I are very close. She's the sister I never had. Only child problems. Mick asked if he was to pay for a paternity test, if I would allow it to happen. Mick explained that he wasn't accusing me of anything, but he was fed up of seeing Jim and his wife drag me every chance they got. He understood why I was refusing and agreed with me. I agreed, but started that Jim should choose the company that the paternity test is done through, and I didn't want to know which one was chosen. That way, I wasn't involved. So we had a paternity test. Mick paid for all 3 children to be tested and had them tested with a private company Jim chose, and then a private company Mick's lawyer recommended. Mick explained he did this so that if Jim started arguing against the results calling them fake, then Mick had another set to back them up. And what do you know? All 3 children are Jim's. Since we've gotten the results, Jim has tried arguing that they're wrong and that the youngest definitely isn't his. He has also been taking to Facebook to complain about me and is threatening to take me to court for fraud. The man couldn't even afford to pay for a paternity test. He definitely can't afford a lawyer to take me to court, but I'd like to see him try. Former sister-in-law has been screenshotting some of his comments and sending them over to me, which we've been having a giggle over. Especially since one of the things Jim was whining about is finding out I've been dating a former friend of his. I say former because he, along with some others, were cut out by Jim's wife. Jim's upset because I am alienating him from the children by dating someone new, coming from the man who left me when I was pregnant for his new wife, who keeps trying to insist she is mama to my children. My children only met my boyfriend for the first time this weekend, after we had been dating for a year. Before people jump to Jim's defense and claim I am alienating him, I've never stopped him seeing or communicating with the children. He's the one that decides when he's interested in being their dad. So yeah, unsurprisingly, my children are Jim's. Jim's still an idiot. The children are happy as they're off to have a sleepover at their granddad's with cousins, while I get to have wine and spend the evening catching up with my former sister-in-law. Jim and his wife are still mouthing off on social media, but it's falling on deaf ears for the most part. While ex-father-in-law and brother-in-law seem like smart guys, so the stupidity isn't genetic. Jim's just an A-hat with an idiot witch for a new wife. Enjoy your kids, your friendships, your new boyfriend, and wine. Maybe father-in-law should get a paternity test on Jim. Jim's the a-hole. Screw him. He needs to pay for things he wants, not other people. He thinks a woman could have twins from 2 fathers? Ridiculous. He doesn't want to have a boyfriend? Ridiculous. Let him wallow in his own stupidity and live a crappy life. Actually, it can happen that a woman can have twins by 2 separate fathers/sperm donors, but the woman has to sleep with the 2 different men very close together. Biology can be such fun. I saw it on Maury years ago. Mom was white, dad was black, and one twin was mixed and the other was very white with red hair. Dad was the father of their mixed twin, not the other one who was the one dad thought wasn't his. Next story. Am I the a-hole for rejecting my friend's request to have an open relationship with my husband? Original post. I, 30 female, have been married to my husband, 32 male, for 5 years. We have 2 beautiful kids, 5 male and 6 female, and have a very strong relationship and are happy together. Recently, my friend Lisa, 29 female, confided in me that she has developed feelings for my husband. She said that she finds him attractive and admires our relationship, and she asked if we would consider having an open relationship so she could be with him too. I was shocked and told her no, explaining that my husband and I are committed to each other and that we are not interested in an open relationship. Lisa got upset and accused me of being selfish and closed-minded. She argued that modern relationships should be flexible and that I was denying her happiness. Since then, Lisa has been distant and has been spreading rumors in our friend group, suggesting that I am overly possessive and controlling. This has caused a lot of tension, and some of our mutual friends are now taking sides. My husband is supportive of my decision, but I feel guilty for the drama it had caused. So am I the a-hole for rejecting my friend's request to have an open relationship with my husband? Now for the top comments before the mini update. Forgive my language here, but Lisa sounds like a stupid bitch. And so are the friends who are taking her side. Good grief. Not a-hole. They very likely don't have the real story, but if they stay at that side after an explanation, they are dumber than a pile of rocks. I really hope that's why they're critical of OP, because they've been lied to. The husband is a human being, not a library book. The whole have that man washed and sent to my tent vibe Lisa is showing is just gross. Not a-hole. Tell the friends that are on her side to let her sleep with her husband. Seriously, do this. You are 100% in right here. Your ex-friend is so self-absorbed that it beggars belief. She's calling her best friend possessive of her husband, who doesn't seem interested in sleeping with her either. Lol. Your husband does not want it. You and your husband are happily monogamous. End of discussion. She's not your friend. She's an attempted home wrecker. They're not your mutuals. They are her flying monkeys. Cut them out of your life if they think this is acceptable. Not the a-hole, obviously. Whoever thinks like Lisa must be stupid, and all of these people who are on Lisa's side are equally stupid for supporting her. Tell the truth, OP. Distance yourself from her. Edit. This attracted a lot more attention very fast than I thought it would. I've read most of your comments, and I think tomorrow I will talk to the whole friend group about it and I'll update after. Mini update. After reading some of your comments, I decided to bring the group out for coffee and I told them all about what Lisa said and the real story. I also showed them the Reddit post. After showing them, there were 2 girls that were still on Lisa's side. So I took some advice from the comments and said, let Lisa bang your husband, then you can be on her side. After that, everyone was on my side, thankfully. Lisa wasn't happy at all, and she started ranting about how it wasn't fair. She just wanted to experiment something new, and it wasn't even that bad of a request. You're making it such a big deal, which I didn't get. Me and the rest of the group have officially cut contact with Lisa. Just hoping she doesn't try to reach out. We'll update if something happens. Also just clarifying that Lisa also asked my husband for an open marriage. He also rejected, saying that even if I would never want to go out with you. I'm thinking of cutting off the ladies that were on Lisa's side for so long, but I'm not sure if they heard a different story or not. Last story. Am I the a-hole for exposing my husband's affair with his much younger childhood friend? My 34 female husband, 36 male, and I have been married for 12 years. We have 2 kids together, ages 10 and 8. Everything seemed perfect until I discovered that my husband has been having an affair with his childhood best friend, Emily, 22 female. Emily's practically family. Our families have been close for decades, and she was often at our house growing up. When she was a kid, my husband used to babysit her. I always thought of her as a little sister, so you can imagine my shock when I found out they were involved. The affair started when Emily turned 18, but I found out through messages on my husband's phone that he had been grooming her for years. He bought her gifts, took her on special outings, and made inappropriate comments that she didn't understand at the time. Now that she's an adult, their relationship has turned physical. I was horrified and confronted my husband. He tried to downplay it, saying they were just old friends who got too close. But the messages I found were explicit and clear. I decided to tell my family and his family. My parents and siblings were outraged and supported my decision to leave him. However, his family's divided. Some of them think I'm overreacting and that it's just a midlife crisis. Others are appalled and think he's a predator. Even our friends are split. Some believe I should forgive him for the sake of our children, while others agree that what he did is unforgivable. I've moved out with the kids, and we're staying with my parents. Now I'm being accused of overreacting and breaking up our family over something that isn't that serious. So am I the a-hole for exposing my husband's affair with his much younger childhood friend? I want to clarify something real quick. My husband and Emily's relationship is more of a brother-sister bond, but I didn't know any other word to describe it, so I used childhood friend. They want to designate you the a-hole because the only alternative is to accept that their loved one, your husband, has done a despicable thing. He's an a-hole, and so is everybody who enables him to carry on as if he's done nothing wrong. I'd be really interested to know what Emily's family makes of it. Not a-hole. I would also put it back into people saying she's overreacting. If their spouse groomed a child they were babysitting and had known since the child was in diapers. Something is throwing me off. OP's husband is 14 years older than his friend. Did he start babysitting an infant when he was 14? And isn't it slightly odd that her parents would have a teenage boy, and at some point a man, babysit their daughter? I'm not sure I believe this story. If it's true, OP's husband is a sick, twisted groomer/predator. Leave him, and ignore anyone who says you shouldn't. How are you childhood friends with someone 10 years younger? Doesn't work that way. My husband used to babysit Emily. He was like an older brother to Emily. Soon, when Emily was a teen, she asked my husband for advice and questions regarding her period, her private parts, etc. Mind you, Emily was about 13 that time, and my husband was in his mid to late 20s. Your husband is a predator and pedophile. He groomed her from a very early age, just waiting for her to be legal. Please listen to those who are holding him accountable. What your husband did is disgusting, and anyone who sides with him are pedophile/predator neighbors. I'd seriously keep my kids away from all of them. I hope you kept evidence to use in a divorce. Not the a-hole, nor are you overreacting. I'm not sure how this is even a question in your mind, but gaslighting can create a mental fog and make you question things. You are doing and have done the right thing.